Wow, what an amazing day. Do you know, we're approaching the summer solstice. It'll be happening in a couple of days. And this is the first day I've been able to wear a summer dress because it's been so cold with the wind up until now. So it is just, honestly, it makes your heart sing to see all of this beauty. The wildflowers are going crazy. They're just popping up everywhere. The roses are coming out. The beautiful valerian is in flower. And of course, St. John's wort is the flower of the summer solstice. So I'm picking St. John's wort, and it has many healing attributes. But when you make an infused oil with it, it's very good for any aches and pains, muscular problems, skeletal problems, particularly the spine, so arthritic joints, anything like that. It's a natural antiviral as well, so you can put the infused oil into a balm if you want to make a lip salve for someone who has cold sores or to prevent cold sores. So it's an amazing plant because a lot of people think today it's just the depression antidote, but it's not really. It's not really for serious depression. If you had SAD, SAD, seasonal affect disorder, it can be very helpful during the winter. Because look at it, it's like sunshine in a flower. So it's a great medicine for that. And it's a wonderful medicine for, if you're feeling a little bit melancholic, a little bit sad. If, for example, you're a woman going through the menopause and you're feeling a little bit like your life has come to an end, your children have flown the nest, what is your purpose any longer? You might be feeling a bit miserable around those questions, and St. John's wort can really help you to cope with that empty nest syndrome, of that feeling that you've been washed up and you're finished with, when of course you're not. It's just a new stage in life. So it is a really wonderful plant, but it's also antiviral, so it can help with viruses and things like shingles, and as I said, the cold sores. It's very good for wounds. It's good for burns. The Crusaders were very fond of this in the 11th and 12th centuries when they were off doing their crusades, because it's particularly beneficial for sword wounds, and especially sword wounds to the spine, to the back. But there's so much folklore attached to St. John's wort. It's also renowned as a herb that is very protective of evil forces. And on a night like the summer solstice, there could be all kinds of mischief from various little spirits and fairies, that St. John's wort is going to be very protective. So there are lots of plants that look like and there are many types of St. John's wort, but the one I'm talking about is Hypericum perforatum. And one way you can tell is by looking at the leaves, and you will see little dots on the leaves that look like perforations. They're actually oil glands. Another way is if you rub the plant, you can see the juice has made my finger turn red. That's another way to tell that you have the right Hypericum, the right St. John's wort. So with the infused oil that I'm about to make, I like to keep that for muscle rubs, back rubs. I have a friend with shingles. He puts it along the shingles path and it gives immediate relief. And as I say, you can make a lip balm with the oil and relieve cold sores. So when you've overdone it working in the garden, as I often do, St. John's wort oil is wonderful. But when you're harvesting it, you can take the little buds that haven't quite opened, you can take the flowers, and you take the leaves. So it's basically the tops of the plant that we're going for. And it's going to make more flowers as the summer goes on. But the fact that it's actually in flower now, just in time for the solstice, is when it's really absolutely at its most powerful. So it's great that it's flowered for this time. So I'm just going to go and make some oil. So to make an infused St. John's wort oil, you take your fresh flowers, and the tops. So that's the little leaves, the buds, whatever's on the top of the plants. And I'm just chopping them up into this jar, because we want to get a lot of surface area for the oil to extract all the beneficial constituents, the hypericin and everything. I have no problem using fresh plants for an infused oil, and for St. John's wort it should be a fresh plants. But although you're following the exact same steps with any other infused oil, some people recommend that you have dried plant material, and other people recommend you leave it to wilt and dry for a few hours, which is fair enough. Personally, I never have any problems with my oils even using fresh plant material, but I do add a cap of vodka, which tends to prevent mold or anything going wrong. So you'll have to decide for yourself, depending on your local environment. If you have a lot of humidity, you might be better off using dried plants, or certainly leaving your plants to wilt for a few days. I just put mine straight in. But with St. John's wort, you're using fresh plants. And there's another difference as well that I'll explain in a minute. So I've got my jar full of flowers and the plant tops, and I'm going to cover that with olive oil. So there's the jar full of oil covering all the plants. Leave it to sit for a couple of minutes just to allow any bubbles to rise up, so that it doesn't become oxidized. And you can use a chopstick or any little thing like that to give it a stir to release those bubbles. And when you're happy that all the bubbles have been released, you put on your lid, label it of course, although you won't even need to, because this is going to turn into a bright ruby red colour. And unlike other infused oils, we leave this one in the sunlight. We leave it on a sunny windowsill because we want the sunlight to activate the release of the constituents into the oil. With any other infused oil, you want it to be kept out of the sun and in a dark cupboard or a dark area. But it's the reverse for St. John's wort oil. So there you go. It's so simple. It's such a beautiful thing. Sunburns, burns, did I mention those? It can help that as well. And you'd leave it for about 6 weeks, and then you strain it and you have your beautiful ruby red oil ready for use for any of those muscular aches and pains, arthritic joints, shingles, anything at all like that. And there you are, beautiful natural medicine. So another thing that's lovely about the summer solstice, apart from all these miraculous and fantastic and beautiful flowers and herbs, is that it's bonfire time. We like to celebrate the summer solstice with a bonfire, and we have lots of garden waste and wood to burn. So we're hoping that the weather will be good on Friday coming up. And then we'll have a lovely bonfire and a celebration. If you can't have your own bonfire, or if you live in an apartment and it's impossible, you can light a lovely candle. So if it's raining, we will be lighting a candle like this, and that will represent the flame of the summer solstice and the element of fire and the beautiful sun that gives us all our health and life and food and everything that we need. Another part of my celebrations for the summer solstice is to remember the goddess Anya, and this is what I share in the Wise Woman Way training, because I associate a different goddess with each of the festivals. So Anya is an Irish goddess. She's a sun goddess, she's a fairy goddess, and she's very much associated with the summer solstice. And the goddess Anya is very much associated with meadowsweet. So I just want to bring you over and show you some lovely meadowsweet that is just coming into flower. So here we are at a lovely stand of meadowsweet, and meadowsweet is a beautiful medicinal plant. It's very good for the stomach, it's very much a pain reliever. But in our story of Anya, Anya is 3 times threatened by men. First time she's raped by a king, so she bites off his ear, because in those days in ancient Ireland, a king had to be complete. He had to be in perfect physical shape. He couldn't have any disability or any marks. So when he lost his ear, he lost his kingship, and that was his punishment for raping the goddess. The second thing that happened was another man decided he wanted to have her, and when she refused, he set his dogs on her. He set his hunting dogs to chase her and bring her down. So she ran into a stand of beautiful, fragrant meadowsweet, and the dogs lost her scent and they couldn't find her, so she managed to escape. And then the third man, he caught her bathing in a river or a lake, and he hid her clothes, and he said he wouldn't give them back until she promised to be his wife. So what could she do? She said she would be his wife on one condition, that if they had a son, he was never to show any surprise at anything that the son did. So they married and they had a son, and as the son became older, he developed magical skills, because don't forget his mother is a fairy goddess, and he surprised his father by jumping in and out of a bottle, and so she was released from the marriage contract. So I think her story is really pertinent to the situation that we find ourselves in today. Women are being what can I say, they're being oppressed in very subtle, unpleasant ways. Our government in Ireland, for example, tried about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, to hold a referendum that would pretty much negate women's existence. They wanted the word woman removed from the constitution, the word mother to be removed. If you look at any Western hospitals' maternity literature that they give out to women, there's no mention of mother or woman in that literature. It's pregnant person, or it's chest feeder, or lactating person. You know, women are 52% of the population. We are the original of the species. Men are only mutants. This is what my male biology teacher told me. Hence they have their, they still have nipples, and they have their genitalia on the outside, which is a mutation. And so we're in a very peculiar position in the West, where women are being eroded, pushed aside, ignored. We also have a very worrying, growing trend around surrogacy. You know, I don't think any reasonable person has any problems with gay marriage, but when it leads to surrogacy, where a woman is hired to rent her womb out, I think, you know, there's a lot of moral and ethical issues there that are not being considered. And again, I find it very detrimental to women. So what I try to encourage my students to do is to use the story of Anya to feel empowered, and to feel that they can overcome oppression, no matter what happens to them. I encourage my students to stand in their femininity, and to get in touch with the divine feminine within. And I would ask any men who are watching to consider how are you demonstrating respect for the women in your life? How are you helping them to be empowered? Because we are frailer and more vulnerable and less strong. There's no doubt about that. So we do need protection from good men. But not just physical protection, but protection from this whole kind of weird, strange mindset that women are not important, women don't have a say, women are not entitled to their safe spaces. And I'll put a couple of links in the box below about some of these issues that you can read and look at for yourself and make up your own mind. So I would encourage all women, and particularly younger women, to stand in their own power, to be aware of just how much power we have, and to get in touch in any way you can with the divine feminine, whether that is becoming someone who takes self-defense classes, or whether it's someone who researches the goddesses, somebody like Anya, who has overcome 3 attempts to crush her and destroy her, and yet she rose victoriously. And a recent story of a woman in South Africa who suffered absolute horrific rape and attack, and she lived to tell the tale, and she's a motivational speaker now. Her name's Alison Bloth. I can't remember her surname, but I'll put a link below. So I think the summer solstice, the sun is standing still for 3 days, illuminating things that we need to see. And this oppression of women is something that we need to uncover and address and stand up against. And that's my rant over. I hope you have a wonderful celebration, because the summer solstice is also about celebrating life. Look at this prolific life here. Dogs and chickens and everything running around. And it's just, we're so lucky, we're so fortunate to live on this planet. And we're so fortunate that we have these celebrations to enjoy. So I hope you enjoy your summer solstice celebration. I'm going to have a look at these blackcurrants here because I think they're ready for picking. So I'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.